you could probably build around like value stacks if you really wanted to. Like the Hornets, you could have a value stack. Portland, you could have a value stack. The Bulls, you could have a value stack. I mean, we've talked a lot about who's missing for Chicago in this game against Cleveland. I mean, this morning we found out that Matt Thomas was going to enter health and safety protocols. And while 2 weeks ago I wouldn't have batted an eye at that news, Matt Thomas had to play 20 minutes in their last game against Denver. Like, that's the point we're at with the Bulls. So when you're talking about someone like Dosunmu, who played 41 minutes, scored 31 DraftKings points, he's $3,900 tonight. Obviously, these guys are going to be tertiary. He and like Derek Jones Jr., who's 4,300. They're going to be tertiary scoring options to Lonzo, to Levine, to Vucevic, but they're just going to play 35 minutes. At a certain point, you can just lock in guys at 5x, 6x value because of this. So I think Portland and Chicago in particular, you're going to be able to just find a bunch of 3K, 4K guys who fit into lineups who are hitting that 5x value just out of, like osmosis, essentially.
All right, Nick, give me a value play you could build around.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Smith Jr., we're talking about Portland, right? I wouldn't have batted an eye at him at 5.8K, but then you see what he's done in the last 2 games where he scored 32 DK fantasy points last time. The game before that, 41.5, and now he's going up against the Warriors, who are 24th against point guards in terms of fantasy production. I mean, to me, that guy's a no-brainer to have in your lineup. Another guy, too, I want to get a little bit of the action in that Brooklyn-Houston game, too. That is the highest total on DraftKings Sportsbook, and he's a little bit cheaper. Eric Gordon at 5.3K. Look, he's not a guy who's necessarily getting a ton more usage, but Kevin Porter Jr., he does become the guy with the second highest usage rate on the team, Kevin Porter Jr. out of the lineup, which he is tonight. And he hasn't been necessarily shooting a ton more. That hasn't where we've seen the increase, but he's been shooting better recently, too. He's coming off back-to-back 20-point performances. So that's the guy. Those are my 2 options tonight in terms of value.